So are you looking for some of the sexiest fragrances on the market? Well, if you are, I got you covered with these 10 fragrances I have here. So stay tuned. Hey, what's going on guys? Hunter here and welcome back to my channel. And if you are new, what I do is I make fragrance related content. So if you love fragrances, go and smash the subscribe button down below. But that's right guys, we're gonna be talking about some of the sexiest fragrances that money can buy. And like I said, I do have 10 here, ranging from both designer fragrances and some niche fragrances as well. So as always, what we're gonna be looking for though, when it comes to sexy fragrances, at least in my opinion, it's going to be more of like your warm, darker, like tobacco fragrances, maybe orientals, creamy vanillas, spicy fragrances, more along those lines. Unlike like your typical Dior Sauvage, Bleu de Chanel, things like that. That's what comes to my mind at least. And that's exactly what I have here is some warm, resinous, woody, spicy, maybe fougères and oriental fragrances. So let's start this list off on number 10. So coming at number 10, we are actually starting this list off pretty heavy with a designer that was pretty much called the date night king when it comes to fragrances. And the fragrance I'm speaking about is Yves Saint Laurent's La Nuit de l'Homme. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about La Nuit de l'Homme being like a sexy date night fragrance, which it is. That's why it's making this list and coming at number 10. With this fragrance, you do have a ton of cardamom, so it comes across very warming, a little bit spicy, also a little bit creamy as well, especially as it dries down. And man, this fragrance just works when it comes to date night scenarios. The women absolutely love La Nuit de l'Homme. This thing gets so many compliments. Even though I wish the performance was a little bit better when it came to this fragrance, like the older vintage batches, but all in all, it's still a great fragrance and absolutely deserves to be on any sexy top list when it comes to fragrances. So number 10 is La Nuit de l'Homme. Okay, so coming at number 9 is another designer fragrance, and this one is a lipstick bomb. Very creamy, very sensual, and the fragrance is Valentino's Uomo Intense. Now with Valentino Uomo Intense, you do have a nice mandarin orange in the top, but it transitions so well into that creamy, powdery lipstick you're gonna get, and also has like some leather in here. Very warming, like I said, very sensual, and just a sexy fragrance. Honestly, I think I actually prefer this fragrance over the original Dior Homme. The last time I wore this one, I got a huge compliment on it. She was completely blown away by this fragrance, and yeah, that's the kind of impression you're gonna leave on a woman wearing Valentino Uomo's Intense. Absolutely check this one out, especially at the price. It's absolutely reasonable for what you're getting. Extremely high quality. And if you love lipstick and like creamy, maybe vanilla, leathery kind of fragrances, this is one you're gonna wanna check out. So coming at number 9 is Valentino Uomo's Intense. Okay, so on the number 8, we're actually gonna head over to the House of Guerlain, the classy, sophisticated House of Guerlain. And the fragrance I'm going with is Guerlain's L'Homme Ideal Eau de Parfum. Now I'm going with this fragrance because it is very sexy. Has a nice juicy cherry note in here alongside a gourmand almond, so it is a little bit nutty, but it's also very creamy. It may not be like the warmest fragrance, but it does have a beautiful creamy vanilla listed in this fragrance, at least when it dries down. And the cherry fragrance is top tier. Even though the cherry isn't the most prominent, you definitely do pick up on it, but I mostly get it's just creamy, almondy goodness with Guerlain L'Homme Ideal Eau de Parfum Flanker. By far my favorite one from the line, and I do own 3, the Le Intense and I own the Sport, but the EDP is by far my favorite. Also, when it comes to the quality you get with Guerlain fragrances, it's very hard to top that. So the L'Homme Ideal Eau de Parfum is coming at number 8. Okay, so coming at number 7 is actually one of my first loves when it comes to fragrances, and this one absolutely had to make the list, and the fragrance is Viktor & Rolf's Spice Bomb. Now with Spice Bomb, at least the original EDT, not the extreme, this is the original one, with this fragrance you do get a ton of tobacco, a nice warming earthy tobacco, but alongside that, obviously what you're going to expect with the name of Spice Bomb is a ton of spices, and that's exactly what you get with this fragrance. It's just a ton of spices all put together, a bunch of different peppers, everything that is in this fragrance. It's just so good and just so well blended together. And this is definitely one of the sexiest fragrances that money can buy. especially when it comes to designers like Victor and Rolf. So coming at number 7 is absolutely going to Spice Bomb. Okay, so coming at number 6 is actually a masterpiece in my opinion. I actually rated this a 10 out of 10, perfect fragrance. And it's more for like the mature, sophisticated businessman, like a professional guy fragrance, but it is absolutely sexy. And the fragrance is Creed's Royal Oud. Okay, so with Royal Oud, you do have a nice opening that is a little bit citrusy. You do have a bunch of lemon in there, which Creed is known for. It's more of like the citrus fragrances when it comes to lemon and stuff. And once you get past that, it dries down to a beautiful, woody, warm fragrance. It does have a ton of cedar wood. You also have some sandalwood in there, giving it a nice creaminess in the dry down. But you also have that oud. And now the oud isn't your funky, kind of animalic, barnyardy oud. It's like very, very well done. And what more would you expect when it comes from the house of Creed? It's just such a beautiful, blended, sophisticated, masculine, mature fragrance. And then this stuff is sexy. So it is coming at number 6. Okay, so we reached the top 5 sexiest fragrances on the market out of my collection. And coming at number 5, we do have a earthy, little bit funky, kind of chocolatey fragrance. And the fragrance is Tom Ford's Black Orchid, the Eau de Parfum, the original launch. Now, Black Orchid had to make the list because this stuff is absolutely killer. It's such a sexy fragrance. This one works both actually on a man and a woman, but obviously this is more towards the guys list here. But with Black Orchid, you do have a truffle note in here. And trust me, I'm not talking about the truffle chocolates. I'm talking about the mushroom truffle that grows in the dirt. So it is very earthy, slightly animalic as well. I get some kind of like animalic tones to this fragrance. Very earthy, very dirty. You also have a nice earthy patchouli, but it is also very warming. You do also have a chocolate. I think it's a dark chocolate in this fragrance, which does bring out the sexiness in it. Just all in all, a very kind of mysterious, complex, unique fragrance that women will absolutely die for when they smell this on you. Trust me that. And that is exactly why Black Orchid is coming in at number 5. So at number 4, sexy's even in the name. So you already know it's gonna be a sexy fragrance. And the fragrance is Veronique Gabay's Sexy Garrigue. Now, I did recently talk about this one quite a bit. And man, I fell in love with this fragrance at first sniff. With Sexy Garrigue, so what makes this sexy is it's very warming, very resinous. You have a nice sticky kind of resin in this fragrance. And I absolutely love resins because of the warming qualities of it. It can come across a little bit sweet, but alongside the resins, you do have a nice warm amber base in here. So when it dries down, the golden amber absolutely comes through. And it's done so well. And if you haven't heard of the house of Veronique Gabay, I highly suggest checking them out. I've tested every single one of their fragrances and I was honestly impressed with each and every one of them. Even though I would have to say Sexy Garrigue is definitely my favorite because it just leans more in the direction of how I like my fragrances, like woody, resinous, and warming. And as you can tell by that juice as well, it is a little bit darker of a juice. So yeah, coming at number 4 is going to Sexy Garrigue by Veronique Gabay. Okay, so coming at number 3 is actually a dangerous fragrance to wear because this one will get you in some trouble. And it's created by the master himself, Roja Dove, and the fragrance I'm going with is Roja Parfum's Danger Parfum Cologne. So if you love fougères and barbershop fragrances, but always wish maybe it had like a more sexy added touches to that kind of composition, this is the fragrance for you. And the name is perfect for this one because like I said, this is a dangerous fragrance to wear because you will have women all over you smelling you because this stuff just attracts. And this, to me guys, what I pretty much get from this, it's very spicy. You do have the note of cumin, which honestly, I'm not a huge fan of cumin, which I have spoke about before in the past. But man, whatever the mastermind Roja did himself in this fragrance makes it absolutely work. You also have obviously vanilla, which gives it a nice creaminess. You have tonka bean as well, which adds some warmth to the fragrance. And you also have some nice clean white musk in the dry down of this. And you know musk is obviously a sexy note and you do get some with this fragrance here. But pretty much with every single Roja, at least that I own and have tested, the complexity you get with these fragrances is insane. They change from every single hour. Like the top, middle, and dry down is always completely different. They usually have so many notes, which usually doesn't work. You have to be a pretty much master perfumer to blend all these kind of notes together to make them actually work instead of being like all muddy together. But Roja did a fantastic job with Danger, because I love fougere fragrances, and this is a unique take on the fougere DNA. Okay, so coming at number 2 is actually one of my newest fragrances in my collection, and I also just recently did a video on, and the fragrance is by Kilian's Angel Share. You already know a boozy fragrance had to make this list because I think boozy fragrances are sexy as can be, and there's none better, in my opinion, than Angel Share. With Angel Share, you do have a nice cognac in the opening of this fragrance and pretty much lasts the life of it as well. But you also have oak. Now, if you don't know, cognac is pretty much ages in oak for I believe 3 years and up or so. And that's exactly what this fragrance smells like. Like, just picture in your head the cognac being drained out of the oak barrels and sticking your head in there and just taking a whiff. That's exactly what I get with this fragrance. Like aged wood with the cognac just seeped into it, dry. It's just such a phenomenal fragrance. And even Kilian himself said that this was his most personal creation to date, was Angel Share. Because the Hennessy line in general, they are known for their liquors, their cognac, stuff like that. And Kilian pretty much put all of his family heritage into this bottle here with Angel Share, and you could definitely tell. Yeah, just a perfect date night fragrance that will have anyone falling head over heels for you. This stuff smells incredible. So that's exactly why Angel Share is coming in at number 2. So let's find out what number 1 is, because it's gonna be hard to beat this. So we finally made it to the number 1 spot. And at number 1, I pretty much consider this to be the sexiest fragrance that money can buy, at least from what I've tested. And the fragrance I'm speaking about is Frederic Mall's Musk Ravageur. I remember when the first time I got my nose on Musk Ravageur, I completely was blown away and almost fell over. This is the most sexy fragrance in the world, in my opinion. What you get with this, you get a ton of spiciness, you get a ton of musk. And I'm not just talking about a clean white musk. No, I'm talking about a furry, warm musk. I've never smelled a musk in a fragrance quite like this one. And I know it's illegal to use real musk in fragrances nowadays. So usually when musk is listed in a fragrance, it's usually synthetic, like accords and stuff. But with this, if it is a fake accord musk, they absolutely nailed it with this fragrance. Because the musk smells 100% authentic, 100% animalic, very animalic musk, very dirty. Besides obviously the musk, the spiciness, you do have like a top of lemon in here, but it dries down to be very warming, very creamy with the vanilla. How about I pretty much describe Musk Ravageur? This is a masculine version of Guerlain's Shalimar. If you are familiar with Shalimar, that was launched back in the 1920s, a very old fragrance. This smells similar to it, like a similar DNA from the being oriental with that top of like citrus notes like lemon, being very spicy and being very creamy. This is a man's version of Shalimar. So if you've ever smelled Shalimar and like it, absolutely you have to check out Musk Ravageur. Sexy fragrance, and it is my number 1 spot on this list. So that's pretty much gonna wrap up my top 10 sexiest fragrances. Let me know down below some sexy fragrances that come to mind for you guys. And also let me know down below if you've tried out any of these fragrances or are considering it after this list. I'd love to hear you guys' opinions and stuff. But as always, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. And I'll catch all you guys in the next fragrance upload. Take care, everybody.